Hello and welcome back to the Argyle Treasury and Risk Leadership Forum. My name is Brittany Sullivan with Argyle, and it's great to have everyone joining us today. A couple of notes before I turn things over to our esteemed speaker. First, a quick reminder to stop by our sponsors' virtual booths at any time during today's event and for the following week. Our partners are committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience. At any time during today's event, you can visit their virtual booths from the main agenda page, which includes complimentary materials, information, and meet and greet opportunities. To ask questions throughout the session, simply type into the Q&A chat, and we will address your questions at the end of the session. Now, without further delay, I would like to introduce our speaker, David Palmer, Blockchain Lead at Vodafone. We're excited to have David with us for a keynote titled, Harnessing the Potential of Blockchain. Welcome, David, and over to you.
Thank you, Brittany. Thank you, everyone. I'm really looking forward to sort of running through, harnessing the power of blockchain. And I've also put positioning for the metaverse. And, what we've seen over the last 10 years with Bitcoin and Ethereum, is acceptance of blockchain and Web3 technologies by business and more incorporation of blockchain and Web3 technologies by business. This doesn't necessarily correlate with what we're seeing in terms of the price of cryptocurrencies, but cryptocurrency is not blockchain. And what we're starting to see is that the actual technology that provides trust and consensus, is actually being woven and incorporated into business. And I think this is very important. If we look at the metaverse, for example, I see the metaverse as a framework to pull blockchain technologies, Web3 technologies, together with immersive technologies, with AI, with ERP systems, with existing technologies that we have to form new solutions. And some of the technologies that will come will lead to productivity increases and business opportunities. I just wanted to sort of run through what's been happening in blockchain. And just really going through the last 3 years, looking at 2021, 2022, and then really looking at what's happened in 2023. And what we've seen from 2021 to 2022 is the green and black here, the green and red here, which is cryptocurrency size of 1,782 billion, and it dropped to, I think, 650 billion, over 50% drop in 2022. So big drop from 21, 22. Same in DeFi, decentralized finance, is basically finance, run by smart contracts over blockchain Web3 infrastructure. And in 2021, we saw that the total amount of funds locked in DeFi was 240 billion. And what we saw was that drop significantly in 2021 to under 1,000 billion. To under 100 billion. So again, over 50%. NFTs, non-fungible tokens. We've seen this with NFC top shots and other collectibles, as well as music and art. 22 billion traded, in 2021, and again that dropped to a position where the trading on the top exchange, OpenSea, was down over 99%. In 2021, 200 million crypto users, that has actually increased. But what we've seen, quite significantly is that 2021, if we look at 2022, if we look at the macro picture, 70% reduction in Bitcoin and other leading cryptocurrencies. 10 billion was the value of the top metaverse tokens. Again, a 70% drop between 2021 and 2022. DeFi, again, over 70% drop. But there was some positives. So central bank digital currencies, which is the Fed and other central banks starting to look at currencies around the world. 105 projects, and we know that the Fed are giving mixed signals on this, but there are a lot of central banks across the world developing digital currencies. We saw that the second biggest protocol, Ethereum, merged, and what this meant was they moved their technology from what we call proof of work, which used a lot of compute power to get consensus on the blockchain, to something called proof of stake, which led to a 90% reduction in the power used, to run the blockchain. And what does that mean? It means the business, the Ethereum as the second largest blockchain is now more friendly for businesses and enterprises to use. And some of the other things like EIP 1559 will lead to this public blockchain also being faster. One of the other things we saw is 121 billion invested in the metaverse in 2021. More recently, we saw the FTX collapse, which many of you will know, which was very negative on the cryptocurrency market. We saw the collapse of Silvergate, which was a bank that a lot of cryptocurrencies use to get in and out of blockchain cryptocurrencies. We saw Silicon Valley Bank, another sort of bank with Web3 startups, collapse. But actually, what we've seen in the last 3 months is an 84% jump since the beginning of 2023 in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So really interesting, the picture. And what it's actually showing is that due to macroeconomic conditions linked with high interest rates, cryptocurrencies went down. At the same time, blockchain investment by business went up. But now we're seeing, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies actually increase, and 84% since the beginning of 2023 is quite significant. Why is this happening? Well, again, it's interest rates, and but the key thing is, even in 2022, while we saw a lot of risky assets, go down, fall in price as a result of interest rates going up. There was 120 billion invested in the metaverse, and the question is why. So one of the things I'll say in terms of harnessing the power of blockchain is, do we believe that Web3, AI, metaverse, Web3 including blockchain will change the world? And I just wanted to maybe map some of these technologies and really just discuss, what the impact of them, will actually be. And if you look at it, blockchain, what can it do? It can connect infrastructure and change trust and automation. What it basically provides is trust. And if you look at a lot of the processes we have in business and business to consumer, so B2B and B2B2C, a lot of it is checking things out, right? Proving, the organizations or customers, proving who they are, proving ability to pay, proving delivery of goods. If we actually could trust the other party, how much automation could we have? How much improvement of processes, turnaround, speed, cost could we have? We look at DeFi. Well, what does that do? That changes banking and finance. So you're able to have financial products, banking, payments, and finance, all governed by smart contracts without organizations and intermediaries. Very significant, and we're actually starting to see a lot of banks take that up. Can Web3 and blockchain change business? We've seen something called DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, which are actually organizations which are run totally by smart contracts, with very set governance structures that give the community that own the decentralized autonomous organization a say in how it's run, and with very structured voting rights. Smart contracts, actually smart contracts could change law. A smart contract is code that runs, and when you link that to something called a smart legal agreement, actually this could really disrupt contract law, and replace lengthy contracts with lawyers, with electronic automated contracts. There's some other technologies that we look at. So generative AI hit the headlines with ChatGPT. Actually, we're seeing the head of IBM saying this could lead to significant replacement of white collar jobs. We're seeing Goldman Sachs saying this could replace 300 million jobs. I'm not sure, but it can accelerate computational intelligence and change the boundaries of what technology versus humans can do. Tokenization and NFTs really introduce new forms of ownership, where you can have digital ownership of assets, which can be ported across different ecosystems. 5G, which is something that is part of connectivity, can basically can change the boundaries of what you can do when and where, what you can do from mobile versus what you would do with using sort of more powerful in building connectivity. And this can power things like autonomous driving, autonomous cars. And then the metaverse, what can the metaverse do when you start incorporating blockchain and AI and 5G connectivity? Well, it can actually extend the boundaries of experience. But also, if you link blockchain, AI, and the metaverse, you can actually replace some of the jobs in call centers and other things that where you can actually have the AI driving experience through a avatar, which can actually replace a lot of the white collar jobs, or may replace some of the white collar jobs that we're seeing. And just interesting, a quote from Steve Jobs, when we're talking about harnessing the power of blockchain. And I think this blockchain incorporating all these technologies. And Steve said, everything around you that you call life was made up by people who were no smarter than you. Maybe the most important thing is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, and make your mark upon it. And I think harnessing the power of blockchain and Web3 technologies provides that sort of opportunity. So what does blockchain bring to enterprise? Right? What can we have in terms of enterprise, and how does the metaverse look? So I just wanted to run through some of the stats that we have in terms of population. So in 2020, we had a population of 7.9 billion, 2024, 8.1 billion. And by 2030, we're expecting that to go up to 8.8 billion. But smartphones, 6.1 billion in 2020, we're expecting that to increase to 7.1 billion in 2024 and 8.1 billion in 2034. I think what we're saying is most of the population have a smartphone now. And I think we're going to start seeing a convergence of smartphone and metaverse goggles or wearables. But at the same time, we're seeing significant investment in terms of the blockchain world, and we're seeing in terms of the metaverse 120 billion invested so far. But we're expecting that the IoT devices will increase. And I think IoT devices currently at 30 billion in 2020, 70 billion we're expecting by 2024, and 120 billion by 2034 will be increasingly on the blockchain. Right? They'll have interoperable identities on the blockchain, and they'll be equipped with wallets that will allow, and smart contract capability, which will allow these devices to transact autonomously. A huge market, the blockchain powering that. And then we're expecting that global payments, for IoT will go to 1 trillion. Some of the key things that will drive this new world will be self-sovereign identity, and this is identity for people, businesses, and things. In Europe, we have something called eIDAS 2.0, which is a European mandated identity wallet for organizations, people, and devices. In the US, I think there's similar initiatives, and there's even the concept that countries could have wallets, right? And that wallets will replace bank accounts, incorporating identity and different types of payment. In terms of regulation, we see that there's there's a number of regulatory issues at the moment, which is maybe limiting the power of blockchain to be used, and some of this is on what we call stable coins. So at the moment, USDC is a stable coin, which is basically a digital representation of the dollar. What we saw with the collapse of FTX, one of the biggest exchanges in the US and around the world, was that for a while, USDC and other stable coins actually were not a dollar, and then we started to see some misalignment there. So that led to a call for a lot of regulation. Obviously, central bank digital currencies would be on the regulation and would be clearer. But regulation of tokens, regulation of DeFi, clarification on crypto and what's a security and what isn't is something that is needed. And then in terms of identity and wallets, again, some consistency across US, Europe, and Asia would be good in terms of what's accepted for identity and what's accepted in terms of credentials. And then what will be important is how you execute that regulation. With so many IoT devices and people and transactions, I think for this to be effective, the regulation cannot be something that's after the fact. It needs to be executed real time. And I think smart contracts and blockchain could actually be a way of executing regulation on the go. I just wanted to maybe go through a little bit more on the metaverse, and what we've seen with the metaverse is in 2022, in the first 5 months alone, 120 billion was invested. What we've seen since then is Disney closing their metaverse division, Meta or Facebook, who were one of the biggest investors, trimming down. But actually, all the statistics are showing that the investment in the metaverse continues to be very successful, and that is leading to a lot of expectation that this will continue to be a significant opportunity. If we look at the opportunity size, even this year we had McKinsey doubling down on the 5 trillion opportunity by 2030. We're looking at a sort of global GDP of just over 100 trillion. This is 5% of global GDP, and the investment will be needed, for us to realize that opportunity in different areas. And we've seen, obviously Facebook changed their name to Meta, significant investment. We've seen Microsoft investing, we've seen Google investing. What we're waiting for is Apple, and there's a lot of indications that this year Apple will launch their mixed reality glasses, which will be their move into this world. In terms of what the metaverse opportunity could be, a lot of talk that it could impact manufacturing and virtual advertising. Morgan Stanley are talking about immersive connectivity experiences. The metaverse replacing offline activity, so vehicle test drives, vehicle showrooms to an extent, and McKinsey seeing a huge opportunity for virtual learning and training and advertising. I think key areas could also be social media, data and AI as a service, and security as a service. But how does this relate to blockchain? I think blockchain provides the glue between the different components of the metaverse. So you have the experience side of the metaverse, you've got which is in the middle, and this is where typically you have the glasses and you have the immersive experience. You have the link between the immersive experience and the physical world. So you'll want to get virtual things, in some cases that you buy online or that you have in terms of an experience or NFT. You'll want a physical representation, and that's where you have the sort of physical representation of the virtual world. in some cases, virtual assets in the metaverse will need to be financed. So there's a lot of headlines about people buying land in the metaverse, on Decentraland or other things. Can you get a mortgage for that? Can that be financed? If it's an asset, can it be refinanced? So financing the metaverse will be a key area. The data in the metaverse, we're expecting a 300% increase in data generated. How will that be used? Will it feed into AI? How important will AI be in the metaverse? I think that's going to be a key component. And then we're going to see different business models and different ways of getting ecosystems. In terms of how these things come together, we have something called layer 2. So on blockchain, a lot of the opportunity now is at what we call layer 2. So layer 1 being the sort of infrastructure protocols. So Bitcoin and Ethereum, Solana are seen as layer 1s. So they provide consensus, and on top of those, of that layer, you build applications, and you make the blockchain more efficient, and you link to those applications in what we call the layer 2. And the layer 2 is basically what I call the customer or user-facing layer, and it's providing means of aggregating or rolling up transactions. Things to make the blockchain infrastructure more customer or business facing. Massive opportunity there. When you combine that with 5G technology, which is a layer it can be described as a layer 2 for connectivity, you're starting to see a lot of power that can lead to new businesses. And if you want to sum this up, we're seeing that US 80 billion by 2025 is the size of the NFT marketplace. But also, if we sort of look at how this can impact telecoms and how we communicate, there's a massive opportunity to have in metaverse messaging, to have different types of connectivity between virtual and physical worlds. But we're seeing that there's also a huge opportunity where you start connecting cellular technologies, wallets to blockchain technologies, for actually the mobile phone and our phone number to possibly be the glue between virtual worlds, physical worlds, with the trust and our identities of the phone related to the phone number linked in the blockchain. And this could be a huge business opportunity. Another area is our mobile phones. So we went through this before. There's over 6 billion mobile phones in operation. What we're seeing now is that those mobile phones could actually, owned by businesses and consumers, could actually be linked to blockchain. And where you start linking 6 billion phones to blockchain technology, and those phones start to become part of the consensus algorithm, then you're starting to see that this could be a big business for connectivity service providers, but also businesses to start running consensus algorithms on their phones, and also using mobile infrastructure to be part of the blockchain infrastructure. Just really quickly, because I wanted to take some questions. We're seeing that IoT can be a big part, linked to blockchain can be a big part of the metaverse, but also a big business. So we're expecting that there'll be 70 billion IoT devices by 2025, that we're expecting that where those devices are linked to the blockchain, that they can trust each other, where they have an identity passport, which is anchored in the blockchain, that they can start to communicate with each other, and that where payments are linked to blockchain, and these are real world payment credentials, that they can start to transact with each other, even peer-to-peer. And this market is a 1 trillion opportunity by 2025. Just going forwards, some of the questions, how can existing business position for blockchain? And I think that is to really look at your unique selling point, look at real value-added areas where blockchain can help your business, and a lot of the times this is actually where where it adds real value, and it affects the external automation boundary, not internal, meaning that within your organization you generally have trust, but when you're dealing externally with consumers and other businesses, that's where you need to have the trust that blockchain can provide. What can be started now, and and a lot of that will be to do with again where it adds value, where you have a USP, where there's things that are already there. These are areas where you can look at. Other questions: how can I tell if my business can be a metaverse business? Again, is looking at new business opportunities, but a lot of brands are now starting to market themselves and get a space in the metaverse. But there's new businesses and new ways of businesses that will be there. And what are the timelines are another one. But I'll probably just stop now, Brittany, and take some questions from the audience.
Great. Well, thank you so much, David, for such an insightful presentation. We had quite a few questions come through, so we'll go ahead and review some of those. This first question asks, do you believe blockchain will eventually be regulated?
Absolutely. I think blockchain, just like telecoms infrastructure and cloud and electricity and gas, are all infrastructure. And I think blockchain is now beginning to get some consolidation, but it will become regulated because it will become a universal right for businesses and people to have access to it. And for that, it will need regulation.
Great, thank you. This next attendee says they're from they have a small team and a small executive team. So what is the best way to slowly start suggesting IT improvements and blockchain as an option?
I think having a small team can be an advantage because it means you can do a lot of things already. But what I would say is just get some knowledge of some of the applications that may already be out there relating to your business. And then just join there's several groups, business groups, consortiums which are looking at this type of thing. Consortiums which are looking at new technologies, including Web3 and blockchain, tend to be a really good way to get information quickly and accelerate your decision making as to whether this is something that's relevant for your business.
Excellent, thank you. And this next question, is it prudent to take a wait and see approach on blockchain?
Well, it's been here for 10 years, right? Over 10 years now. And I think the waiting and seeing has happened. And we're starting to see big investment by banks and businesses in this technology already. I don't think it's a bad thing to be a fast follower. So I think you've got the sort of leaders. A lot of the banks and companies are moving into this space. We've had a lot of startups. But I think there's enough opportunity, and it's okay to also be a fast follower, right? So I think you can still wait and see, but maybe there's more size of the prize if you move earlier. But I think it's okay to wait and see as well.
Great, thank you. It looks like we have time for a couple more questions. This next question, are you able to share your thoughts on why Bitcoin may have gone up recently?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Some of it could be related to the sort of scares we've had with banks, in the banking sector. So we had Silicon Valley Bank and then UBS in Europe that had to be taken over. And maybe, a lot of, there's been some swing into Bitcoin as it's seen as digital gold, or at least it's got fixed supply. And maybe it's seen as a hedge against inflation. Some of it could also be that that we're just seeing that whole sector become more attractive as we're seeing more clarity on Bitcoin and some of the leading cryptocurrencies. I personally see that it's related to the bank, so to some uncertainty over some of the banks and inflation.
Perfect, thank you. And it looks like we have time for one last question. How do you handle typical resistance to blockchain discussions?
Yeah, I think they've been happening over many years. Some of them are valid, right? Part of the problem with blockchain in the beginning, and even to an extent now, is that they talk too much about the technology. We've talked, blockchain protocols have spoken about smart contracts and the type transactions per second, and what consensus protocol they're talking about. They're using, when actually people are really concerned about what the technology can do for them, and they're not even interested in the technology. What they care about is that they can go to rent a car and not have to show their driver's license because they have a verifiable credential and identity on the blockchain, which automates that. That they can essentially participate in a DeFi yield farm and liquidity pool and get a return on it. They're concerned about the applications, and I don't think blockchain has been very good about talking about the benefits and the applications, and it hasn't been very good at UX, user experience, and interfaces. These are areas that could be improved on, but fundamentally, what we have seen with blockchain and its ability to merge with other technologies is, the reinvention of finance, the ability to bring businesses together into these sort of big, trusted consortiums, and a new way of looking at transactions and portability of value. And some of these functions, have happened in a very, very short space of time. So I think long term, medium to long term, these will be very disruptive technologies.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much again, David, for such an incredible keynote. That is all the time we have for questions, but I do also want to thank everyone else for joining us today. This session, along with all of today's content, will be made available on demand following the event. This does officially conclude the Argyle Treasury and Risk Leadership Forum. Thank you again for joining us and engaging in our content, and have a great rest of your day.